Hi, welcome. It's Matrix Uploaded and it's Physical Sciences. My name is Tinyiko Kosa. I welcome you, and we are today going to talk about motion. Now, when we talk of motion, we're talking about objects that are moving. We're observing them, we're looking at them. And in that way, we are able to tell how this motion is taking place. Now, there should be specific ways of trying to look at how the motion takes place or to describe this motion. Now, the first thing that we need to look at or to understand about objects that are moving is that if we are moving, if we're tracing something that is moving, say it's our very own that are moving and from a particular position, we need to know where we started. So this could be the point where we started. We also need to know how we moved from the beginning to the end. And that will be the end, our destination. Now, if we know all these things, we can also then know how far removed from our starting point we are at the destination. Now, what does that mean? If we know where we have started, that point, it's a position. Now, if you like, you can say that what I have here, it's actually a position graph. If you change this x-axis here into time, we can actually talk of position versus time. But I specifically used y and x so that we can know and understand that every point that is shown here, it's actually a position in this movement. And this position here can be given by a particular coordinates. Now, from our mathematics, we know that if we draw graphs, we're looking at the Cartesian plane of y and x, we know that we will have points in that graph that will be described by points x, y. Now, in that way, a position can be described by that. And I'm just using this here just to show you that position can be defined in terms of coordinates. For example, A there has got an x value for A, and it also have a y value for A there. So in that way, we can find that position. But when an object is moving, its position is changing over time. So as the position changes over time, at different time intervals, the object is at different positions. Now, these then can become or can be seen as a position graph, a position versus time graph. If I had t here, it will be position this side, okay, versus time. Now, we know that when we draw graphs, we need to put in units in which we're measuring these quantities. We know time is measured in seconds, position in meters. Now, we have to then, after this, if we have all these quantities, we can be able to say now, we know where we started, which is the origin. We know where we walked or moved, which is the path. So this whole thing from A to B is the path that we moved. And we also know our destination, which is at B. Okay? Now, if we know this, if that has been our destination, we can also know how our position changed from A to B. That will be change in position. So these are, as if you like, some introductory part into talking about movement or talking about motion. We cannot describe motion if we're not having these quantities that will tell us that something is moving from a particular point to another point. Okay, and along the way, of course, there are things happening. This object may not be moving in a straight line. That will be a perfect situation, which of course we are going to assume as we move on talking about motion. But reality tells us, or we know from reality, that when objects move, they may not necessarily move in straight lines. So the path that they take becomes important. We need to know how far they moved, what kind of path they took, and of importance, the origin and the destination, where we started and where we ended. Because from these quantities, there's a whole lot of other quantities that we can derive from them to understand how to describe motion. Now, like just to give you an example, if you look at how this object changed position from A to B, what is happening here is that at the end, you can be able to draw this straight line from A to B that shows you how the object changed its position from its initial position to the final position. Now, what is this line here that we have drawn that tells us the change in position? That actually comes in to give us what we call the displacement. Okay, and we'll be talking more about it in the next segment. Now, hope you got a clear introductory part or introduction into what we need to know to describe motion. See you in the next section.